Welcome to It Seems Complicated. It's human.
Obviously.
Hey X, why that face?
I don't get it, Bobo. Nobody is buying this thing I have put on sale.
Oh, what are you selling on an art website? Is this the thing you are selling? It's just text. Is it a poem?
It's beautiful, right? And still, nobody wants to buy it.
Oh, X, of course nobody does. You're trying to sell a piece of code on an art site. What were you thinking?
I just wanted to give you back the money for the plasma TV.
Oh, X, that's so sweet of you. But why lines of code on an art site? It does not make any sense. That's not art.
Why not? You always say that developing code is an art. And look how elegant is this polymorphic recursion.
Oh, gee, that's not what I meant. And it certainly doesn't mean you can sell it as art.
Oh, I see. Why not?
Because, X, do you even know what art is?
No, but listening to humans, it seems they believe everything they do is art. From what I have heard, cooking is an art, singing is an art, dressing is an art, criticize art is an art. Did I get it right?
Yeah, sure. Pretty much everything that people want to convince themselves they are good at but don't manage to get paid for.
What's art, anyway?
Oh, that's simple. Art is the expression of human skills and creativity in the form of paintings, music, sculpture, dancing, and so on.
What makes these things art?
Oh, that's simple. They express beauty, elegancy, technical proficiency, and emotional power.
Oh, I see. Like my piece of code. Aren't all those things subjective? You said my code is not art, but how do you define what's art and what's not?
X, I told you, it's complicated. And now more than ever with all the new stuff like digital art and NFTs. But to start with order, so you understand where art is coming from, the oldest piece of art produced by humans are pigs.
Pigs? As in the fat animals that roll about in the mud?
Yes,
Oh, I see. Beauty and elegance.
um, yeah. 45,500 years ago, in the Sulawesi island in Indonesia, probably people had other standards of beauty. But recently, they have also discovered fossils of human hands and footprints in Tibet. And those might be even older.
Fossils?
Yeah, you stick something like a foot in the mud, and then it solidifies and keep the negative representation of that object in stone for thousands of years.
Oh, I see. Technical proficiency. So whether pigs or humans, art is all about mad?
No. Well, technically clay modeling is not far from it, but no, there are many other expressions of art. The Egyptians, as you can imagine, developed a form of art. They standardized how humans and their gods would be depicted by flattening their silhouettes and depicting them always from a side view with legs apart. They would depict scenes of ordinary life, battles, and the deeds of the kings. Similarly, the other civilizations around the Mediterranean Sea produced paintings and statues on the same subjects.
Oh, I see. The usual ones.
Well, actually, this time I was about to mention a spectacular piece of art coming from the other side of the world. It was created around the same time and was made by statues of 8,000 soldiers, 130 chariots with 520 horses, and 150 cavalry horses. They were buried with Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of the second most populated country of this planet. They believed they would escort him into the afterlife to keep him safe.
Oh, I see. That's a lot of statues.
Yeah, they have a reputation to be good at coping. Besides, they come from a country that today contains 17% of the world's population, so when they do things, they do it in a large amount. The collection is called Terracotta Army.
Oh, I see. What's terracotta?
It's a word from the boot-shaped country, Italy. It means baked earth. It's basically clay that gets baked when you're happy with the way you shaped it so that it dries and turns hard.
Oh, I see. Mud again. Do you have any piece of art that is not muddy?
Uh, yes, of course we do. In Italy, for instance, in the 1500s, during the Renaissance, a lot of arts flourished and famous artists like Leonardo da Vinci created all sorts of paintings and sculptures and buildings with grandiose large domes which were painted with nice bright colors and a lot of blue to resemble the sky. In the 1600s, there was a movement called Baroque, which was basically covering everything in gold, not surprisingly encouraged by the Catholic Church. In the second half of the 1800s, another creative movement called Impressionism started in the country with the famous Eiffel Tower.
Eiffel Tower?
Yeah, the tower that is actually itself an artwork. As a matter of fact, it's so special that when they light it up at night, you're not supposed to take pictures of it because the light show is protected by copyright.
Copyright?
Okay, sorry, X. I am sidetracking myself. Impressionism was about accurately rendering light, weird view angles, and the inclusion of movement in their paintings of outdoor subjects and landscapes.
Oh, I see. Impressive. 200 years ago, they were focused on accurately depicting light in their paintings. But today, in the country where that movement started, you can't take pictures of the tower's lights.
Um, yeah, impressive indeed. Let's move past that to the post-impressionism of the early 1900s. As opposed to the Impressionists, they were not emphasizing the color realism of outdoor scenes with their changing light, but rather painted in studios with more emphasis on geometric forms and colors that were arbitrarily chosen to represent the artist's emotions.
Oh, I see. Choose the colors you prefer, disregarding the real ones so it's easier to do.
I didn't say that. Next one, in about the same time period, it was a style that painted reality in a distorted way to convey the emotions of the artist.
Oh, I see. So the artist could do even more what he wanted.
Well, it was more focused on expressing the artist's feelings, yes, so it was called Expressionism. And at the same time, another concept called Cubism took shape too. This one was less concerned about conveying the artist's subjective point of view and more interested in reimagining reality and depicting it with circles, squares, and cones. These shapes were put together into something that might or might not be a close representation of reality.
Oh, I see. Now, not only the subject is less relevant, but even the artist and the technique used was limiting the amount of shapes to the most basic ones to make it even easier.
Um, kind of. Actually, that was still somehow close to reality. In the same years, a new movement called Dadaism came about, and it was all about making fun of politicians and famous art and putting together collages of pictures which some might think did not quite fit together. It was supposed to prioritize the concept over the execution.
Oh, I see. More randomness. Why doesn't it surprise me anymore by now? So, from not caring about the subject to not caring about the artist, this was ridiculizing prior art which was actually depicting reality. And to do so, the execution technique was to pick random stuff created by someone else and put it together.
Um, kind of. But that did not even last that long, and some concepts were picked up by Surrealism. So, if data was based on nonsense, travesty, and incongruity, Surrealism was trying to represent the subconscious using fantastic imagery and incongruous juxtaposition of subject matter.
Oh, I see. Nonsense. But with more nonsense.
Hey, they were just expressing their minds and representing reality how it was perceived at the time.
Oh, I see. What was happening in reality at the time?
Um, they just came out of several years of World War, so let me just tell you about pop art instead. That's more fun. It took the humorous component of Dadaism and brought it closer to real life by the use of pictures of common everyday life objects or advertisements, for instance.
Oh, I see. Like what?
Oh, inspiring stuff with vibrant colors.
Like
Campbell soup cans.
soup cans?
Yeah.
Why?
Hey, I'm not an artist. If you think it was too mundane, you will love the period that followed in the 60s since it was more creative. It's called op art, without the P. They were basically producing optical illusions as a form of art. So they were depicting shapes that would trick the eye of the spectator into seeing something that is not there.
Oh, I see. So from not caring about the subject to not caring about the author to misleading even the one who is looking. What was happening in reality during that time?
Um, a few years after the Second World War and moving into an international tension called Cold War, that, if gone wrong, could have destroyed the whole planet in a nuclear holocaust, which all the hippies were very concerned with between the testing of a new psychedelic and the other.
Oh, I see. War again. I really start to understand why you always say it's bad. And maybe I'm starting to understand art too.
Oh, really? That's great. What do you mean?
That in the long run, it gives a good representation of how humanity changed the way of thinking and feeling about reality and gives you a clearer picture of how the priorities and mindset of humans are focused on different aspects of reality.
Wow, X, this is a fantastic way to summarize it. So you can see how we got more capable of analyzing and expressing the depth of human feelings and psychology by an articulate yet creative use of shapes, images, materials, and colors, right?
No. I was thinking more of the transition from the effort of depicting reality 50,000 years ago to struggling to do it better, gradually oversimplifying it to avoid admitting to be failing in the intent, making up some other reality that is way easier to produce, take pieces of what you have in front of you just as they are and claim they are art so you don't even need to do anything, and finally negating reality itself to play with random shapes and colors while the rest of the world is about to annihilate themselves in a nuclear war. All of a sudden, those pigs on the rocks don't seem as primitive at all.
I think I'm going to skip over the art of the 21st century before I get in real trouble trying to explain to you why some random lines on a canvas are sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. I am not an art critic after all.
What's an art critic?
An art critic is a person who is specialized in analyzing, interpreting, and evaluating art. So they are the ones who can influence the perspective of how the art of certain historical moments gets interpreted and evaluated, what has value and what does not.
How do they know?
Well, they have studied the history of art and spent time understanding styles and techniques. Some of them have been artists themselves. So, with their experience, they can evaluate how much a work of art is worth.
Oh, I see. Subjective. If lawyers have to follow the law, engineers the laws of chemistry, physics, and logic, what are the criteria for critics to decide if a work of art is good?
I was afraid you would ask. There are many. To say a few, the intent, the focus, the skill, the representation, the imagination, the authenticity, the engagement, the human significance, the pleasure, the context.
Any objective ones?
Oh, no, none. But see, that's kind of the point of art. It's intrinsically subjective because it's a product of human creativity, and therefore it can be evaluated only subjectively by other humans. That's art. That's what becomes popular and famous.
Oh, I see. Like making a song with 20 words that repeat in a cycle with the same music over and over?
No,
Promising people a quick and easy way to make a lot of money?
no,
Showing the reactions of how people react to something else?
no,
Telling a very sad story of how someone's life was a tragedy but turned it around by doing just the course they are selling to you?
no,
Showing parts of your body on request of the people in a chat?
no. What the? I need to change the parental controls. X, no. Why would that be art at all?
I don't know, Bobo. You said that art gets famous, and those things have a lot of views.
Well, yeah, sure, nowadays that too. But you got my point on the very essence of creative, unique items and experiences at the very heart of art, right?
Yes. You mean the fact that art is a human self-referential creation that has value only because humans agreed it has. I understand it a little bit better now. After all, your money works the same way. You all humans agree that those pieces of paper have value, and so they do.
That's not how it works.
No?
Well, maybe, but it takes time for all society to agree that a certain art style is actually valuable. It could take even generations.
Oh, I see. So how can art critics judge contemporary art if that might have a recognized value only a few generations from now?
What do I know, X? I am not an artist.
But you can code, and you said code is art. So how are you not an artist?
I should be more careful about what I say to you from now on. I am not an artist because I don't do things artists do.
Like what?
First of all, I have a real job that produces real value.
Like some sort of product or service that people agreed is useful or is anyway willing to pay for and therefore has value?
Yes, precisely.
Just like art.
No! Let me finish. I don't know anything about art history.
But you just explained to me the evolution of art in the last 50,000 years. And it does not seem to have made much progress in recording reality anyway.
I don't have any good technique in sculpting, dancing, painting, nor music creation.
I think I heard you singing the other day.
Under the shower does not count. Everyone does that.
And you can take pictures. I saw you taking pictures of more colorful things than soup cans.
I guess I should give some credit to the Tensor AI chip on my phone for 90% of that. But all of this does not matter, X. To be a successful artist, you need to be promoted, be known, have your art exposed in famous galleries.
Like the pigs?
Not that type of galleries, art galleries. Places where artists expose their art for people to see it and buy it. And to get there, you need a good network of contacts, possibly sponsors, and a willingness to share about half of the selling price, sometimes even more. But the most important thing to be a famous artist is another one that I don't have.
What?
Being dead.
Oh, I can see that might be complicated. Do you want me to help?
No.
Okay, but why do artists need to die to be famous?
Well, I kind of oversimplified it, but let's say that some artists increased their success and the price of their artwork just after they passed away. Remember I said it can take generations for an art style to become popular? It's called the death effect. And the idea behind it is that once the artist is dead, there is no way he or she will produce any more art. So as usual, capping or decreasing supply of something increases its price.
Oh, I see. So if we consider the average life expectancy to be around 75 years, all artists from 80 years ago are famous now? Now the soup cans finally make more sense.
No, I told you I was oversimplifying. What I was trying to say was that it takes time for some art styles to become appreciated.
Oh, I see. I don't get it. You have artists that create art that might be completely unrelated to reality and therefore have no specific objective criteria to be evaluated. They know that the chances they have to be successful in their lifespan are pretty low. And then you have art critics who criticize their art knowing that the actual perception of that style in that historical period will start to have a meaning only after both the artist and the critics are dead.
Do you see why I stick to coding now?
I see. And you say coding is not art, which is supported by the fact that I still have 0 offers for my beautiful polymorphic recursive function. Maybe it's because I'm still alive? I could put myself in a superposition state of dead and alive to capitalize on the benefits of both and repay you for the plasma TV. You wanted to sell a Schrödinger cat after all. Have you ever done that NFT thing? Is that art that we can sell while we are still alive?
I admit I got kind of carried away by the whole NFT hype when I saw people sold the first NFT for 69 million, and it was sold by an older than 250-year-old auction house that also sold the only known portrait of Shakespeare created during his lifetime, and the last discovered painting by Leonardo da Vinci. Actually, this fact itself makes me think it's not really just hype, but rather hype at the beginning of a change in the way art gets sold.
Oh, I see. Money again. What is an NFT? And is Beeple still alive?
Yes, Michael is still alive and probably very happy about the 69 millions. To his credit, in the NFT set he sold, there was a collage of his first 5,000 art pieces. which he created with no exceptions of his wedding day, every day ever since he started the project called, well, Everydays. So he was not new to the world of art with years of prolific art experience as digital artist. And of course, having more than 1 million followers on his social media helped as well. Just like the neon cat nonsense that sold for more than 500,000. And they were just pixelated cats without even a box with a radioactive source to make them interesting. But to answer your question, the NFT is a non-fungible token, meaning a digital token that is unique so that it cannot be replicated or counterfeited because it lives on the blockchain, which is a distributed set of thousands of computers around the world linked through cryptographic algorithms that effectively make them act like a single big computer. The beauty of it is that since the nodes stored in the chain are independent from one another and geographically distributed, it is practically impossible to hack them at the same time to counterfeit the information they store. Imagine it as instead of storing the information of how much money you have in your bank account inside the servers of your bank, you write it on tens of thousands of post-its and scatter those post-its all over the world. The cryptographic algorithms behind them make sure that those post-its all say the same thing at all times and only you can change that number. And since no single entity owns the post-its, you know that your information cannot be changed by a malicious attacker, but can be modified only by following the rules and smart contracts defined on top of the cryptographic algorithm.
Oh, I see. That's very laborious. We simply open a new dimension quantistically linked to the information we want to store, so its integrity is saved in the very texture of the space-time containing it. So if that were to be corrupt, it would mean none of us would be existing anymore, and the problem would not subsist anyway. But I understand what NFTs for art are for now. Crypto-backed pop art. And art itself seems another instance of something human that can be arbitrarily selected to be important based on how much money there is behind it to convince enough people that it has some value. This is a whole new level from beauty. At least for beauty, there was the golden ratio to take some measurements.
I told you it was complicated. Maybe I just did not explain it well enough. Don't you have anything similar on your planet that this compares to? Maybe we can find some similarity to build our common understanding on.
Oh, I see. Are you asking if we have created anything supposedly and subjectively elegant of questionable practical value that gets less creative but more pricey over time and creates an inflated bubble of self-referential market just for the sake of it?
Yes.
No, we haven't.
Subscribe, like, and share this to prevent pixelated cats from being instrumentalized once more.
We guarantee to stop after we reach $1 million in sales.
Thank you for paying back the Plasma TV X. But why did you also get another one for you?
I just wanted a bigger one.
Seriously? You really have spent too much time on Earth.
That's exactly what it is.